Welcome back to the Morristown Market Report. I'm Amy Schrader with Remax Real Estate 10.
And I'm Kim Swan with Union Home Mortgage.
Our special guest today is Aimee Kuhn with Once Upon a Time Costume Rentals. Welcome, Aimee. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
All right. So is this your normal attire or did you dress up for the occasion?
Well, not for every day, but I thought since I was coming to tell y'all about our new costume shop, I would wear one of our costumes.
All right. Good deal. So, where is Once Upon a Time Costume?
Right now, we're functioning out of our home. We're located in the Alpha Talbot area near the industrial park.
Okay.
We can give out specifics as people request it. We're appointment only right now, just because my husband and I both work a full-time job in addition to this. So
I understand.
Gotta fit it in where we can. So.
Okay. All right. Now, you took over the costume business from a local business here in town, correct?
Sort of. It kind of happened that way. Gwen with Trinkets and Treasures downtown, she is retiring after 38 plus years in the business and has been selling her costumes. And we went just to look for something for ourselves, and it just kind of happened and snowballed, and here we are 500 or 600 costumes later and decided to make a go of it. So we're going to try to carry on the torch for Gwen, and Jackie's going to remain on the lower level with the formal wear, and it will continue and be open as normal. So
Okay. All right. So you said you operate by appointment only. Halloween's coming up real quick on us. Do you still have costumes available
we've got
if someone
tons.
needs a last minute?
Yes, we have tons of costumes, all different varieties. We've got several in this Renaissance category. I have all of Wizard of Oz. I've got Gilligan's Island and 50s. I've got John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever. Just all kinds of gangsters and flappers and
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mario and Luigi. I mean, you name it, just about. We have a little bit of it. Yeah, Cowboys and Indians. Have a Super Bowl.
Is it mainly for adults, or do you have children costumes?
I have a few children's costumes, but the majority are adults.
Okay.
I do have some children's though.
And kind of what size ranges do you think you have costumes in?
I have anywhere from a 0 up to probably a 2 to 3X, maybe 22, 24.
Okay. Now, is there like a set cost for the costumes, or is it going to vary depending on the complexity of the costume?
It does. It will vary based on how many pieces it includes, if it has accessories or not, and the value of it. Most costumes are going to be $45 to $50.
Okay. And how long of a rental period is that? Is it like a 24-hour or?
I call it 2 days. You can pick it up after lunch the day before your event, have it the day of your event, and have it back by lunch the day after your event.
Okay.
Provided that works with my personal work schedule too. So.
I understand. We definitely have to keep that in mind.
And then we also can rent to larger groups. Like we've had a few schools that have rented from us already, and fixing to work with another one to do with their Betty Club group to do We Are the World. We're going to do like around the world costumes for them. So that's coming up. So we can do that kind of thing too.
Amy, do you remember us renting the bunny costume one year for Easter for somebody to dress up?
I do. I did not realize that's where it came from.
That's where it came from.
I have about 5 of those, and I have backdrops and scenes for Santa and for Easter, so we can do that as well, and we can provide the people to be in the costumes for the scene, for the pictures, or you can just rent the scene and put your own folks in the costumes for your pictures.
Yeah, we had done for Easter one year
Mm-hmm.
when she worked for another mortgage company. But yeah, I had totally forgotten that that's where it came from. We were talking before we went live. I had rented a Mae West costume for a Halloween party, and that was probably 15 years ago. So they're really cool costumes because like I still get comments on the Mae West costume when it pops up in my Facebook memories and stuff. So anything else about the business that you want to share with us?
Just back to the point of appointments only, just so folks know, we're Monday through Friday with our regular jobs. So it's evenings after 5, and on the weekends we can make appointments anytime, and you can come and browse and try on till you're worn out.
All right. So what is the best way to contact you if somebody wants to make an appointment to come look?
I can give my phone number, or you can find us on Facebook. We're Once Upon a Time Costume Rentals on Facebook.
Okay.
My number is 423-277-9785. You can text me or call me.
Okay?
And I'll get back
I'm
with
going to
you.
ask you to do the phone number one more time and slow it down.
All right.
Somebody's wanting to write.
Okay, it's 423-277-9785.
All right. And again, this is Aimee Kuhn. She is with Once Upon a Time Costumes, which used to be in the downtown, but now they're going under some new ownership. So support a local business. If you need a Halloween costume for a party last minute, you know who to get in contact with. You've got, a little less than a week now before Halloween, so you got time to get it. All right. Well, thank you for being here. I do have one final question for you.
All right.
We ask this of everybody that comes on. If you could go back in time and give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Go for it.
All right. Go
Can't
for it.
beat that.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right. Well, we're not going to ask you to explain that, but
Okay.
you can if you want to. You don't have to. We're going to start talking about real estate and mortgages. So if you want to escape that boring dribble, you're welcome to go ahead and take off, and we'll talk about what 8% mortgage rates are doing to the real estate market.
It sounds exciting. I appreciate you having me.
Thank
Nice
you
to
so
meet
much
you
for
guys.
being here.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And by the way, that costume is amazing.
Thank you. Handmade by Gwen, by the way.
Wow.
She's very talented.
She
Wow.
is at that. All right, Kim, are interest rates still at 8%, or have they come down any?
Well, it hasn't come down any, so
Have they went up?
a little bit this week, a little bit more this week. So we're still looking 7s and 8s. You always still get into things. There are buy down options, which means pay extra to buy the rate down, pay points to get the lower rate. So there's options there as well. And I usually make that as an option for people to say, hey, if you pay this much in closing, this is the rate and the payment versus not paying that much, and just, because it's got to make sense. It's got to have a recoupment period. And if you can't recoup it in a few years, then you really don't want to pay that much extra to get that rate lower.
Right. Now, I can tell you one of the things that I tell my sellers when they're like, well, I think we need to lower our price. Depending on what they're wanting to lower the price. Because if you have a home that's $350,000, let's say, and you lower that price by, let's say, $10,000, you're really not putting any new eyes on it at $340,000 than you were at $350,000. Because people typically are going to search in price points. If they're approved for $350,000, and you move to $340,000, they've already seen the house. So what I suggest to them is, hey, let's not reduce the price by that $10,000, and let's offer to maybe buy down the buyer's rate with that. We can send an email out to agents in the association. We can advertise that in the public verbiage that we are willing to pay X number of dollars towards buying that rate down. And a lot of times that's going to do you a lot more good with the buyer than it is lowering that price to $10,000.
Exactly.
Because again, $10,000 on a $350,000 house isn't a huge reduction, I guess I would say. And so typically I'll, holler out at Kim and be like, hey, tell me what the payment would be at this rate. And if we use $10,000 to buy it down, and you advertise, the dollar difference in the payment, that's going to help you get your home sold. So if you've got your home listed and your agent is not giving you that kind of advice, you need to give me a call, okay? But one of the things that I wanted to talk to you is I read an article today that says if home buyer demand is so weak, because I know I've heard you say, you're not as busy as you were maybe a year or so ago, with interest rates being what they are. So if home buyer demand is so weak, why aren't home prices falling? So what's your opinion on that?
Well,
And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious as to if you hear that question, what would your answer be?
Right. Well, I guess the values are still there. We do say the market has slowed, but as far as the homes being worth what they're listed for, the value's still there. And one thing which you were talking about, one thing that we're offering now, it's called a seller boost program, and it's actually to where we can go ahead, if you've got a seller and they've got their house listed, instead of reducing that price, we can go ahead and lock a rate in on that property, say it's 6% or 5.5% or whatever, and then you can market it that way. You can say, hey, if you buy this house, of course you got to come through Union Home Mortgage, but if you buy this house and come through Union Home, you're going to get a 5.5% interest rate or a 6% rate. Depends on how much the seller wants to invest in paying that down. And that's not a temporary buy down. That's a buy down for that's that lower interest rate for the life of the loan.
So let me ask you a question on how that works. If the seller doesn't even have a buyer under contract, but the seller contacts and says, hey, I want to do this seller boost program, like, how long is that lock good for? Because if it takes 90 days for that house to go under contract, is that still going to be a valid?
Well, normally
Right.
we do them on 60-day lock-ins. So we would, and what we basically do, we just assume that the buyer may go conventional, and we just assume that the buyer may have a 700 credit score. So we're going to lock in that lower rate with those assumptions. Now, let's say you get a borrower and he has a 740 credit score. So his score is better, so it might even be able to go a little bit better than what the seller has locked that rate in for. Or let's say you get a buyer and he has either a lower credit score or wants to go FHA. Then we've got to switch those programs. But it just kind of secures the rate, you know, for a time. It's like a snapshot of a rate, you know. And the thing is, you know, all the experts have said all year, by the end of the year, you know,
We're going to be at 5.5%.
We're going to be down, and that's not
They
happening.
lied.
Yeah, and it's still going up. So it does still protect and potentially get a buyer during that time frame. Now, if the lock expires, then we could either, number one, go back to current pricing and do another seller boost, lock it in again, you know, or whatever.
But if that seller is having to pay that money up front
No, they
to
do
lock
not
in
pay.
that rate.
They do not pay it up front. No. It's just known that when we go to closing, whatever the cost is for that cheaper rate, the seller's got to pay that. So if we do say, hey, it's $10,000 to give this buyer this lower rate, then we go to closing, that automatically has the seller paying $10,000 of that.
Gotcha.
But they don't bring
Because I
us a
thought,
check.
yeah, that's not going to work out well if that rate lock expires and then you're asking them to pay another $10,000.
No.
Okay, I'm glad we covered
Yeah.
that.
No money's collected until we have a buyer, so they have a buyer. So,
Gotcha.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, back to the article about if home buyer demand is so weak, why aren't home prices falling? And the short answer is that while home buyer demand is indeed low, new supply also remains very low. So for home prices to adjust significantly, meaning for home prices to come down, we're going to have an oversupply of homes versus the demand. So even though demand is down, because the inventory of homes for sale is so low, you're not going to see those prices come down. And I know we've talked in previous episodes about, you know, people say, oh, the market's getting ready to crash. It's getting ready to be 08 all over again, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to buy a house till the rates or till the prices come down. They're not going to come down. I mean, we are, I think it's 500,000 homes short in inventory from where we were this time last year. And so, you know, that's a lot of homes to try and make up across the country. Your new home builders can only do so much. And then you've got people who are locked in at, you know, 3.5%, 4.5% rate. They're not going to sell and buy again unless they have one of those 7Ds that I've talked about in a video where they absolutely have to. Somebody's died, somebody gets divorced, you know, you get a new baby in the way, or somebody gets engaged. You know, there's always going to be people who buy and sell, but most people right now are not going to fall into that category, and they're just going to wait it out.
Right.
So, you know, until we get some more homes on the market and less people wanting to buy a house, which I don't see that slowing down a whole lot. You know, if people are still buying houses at 8%.
Oh, yeah.
Some people just want to buy a house. It's a great American dream. Everybody wants to be a homeowner. So home prices are not going to fall anytime soon. And I think we can be relatively certain in saying that, unlike the interest rates are going to be at 5.5% by the end of the year.
I totally agree with you. I don't see the prices dropping. You know, they may not increase at the percentage they have been increasing at, but I still don't think they're going to, you know, we're not going to see 2008. We're not doing the loans that we were doing back in 2008 that got us where we were in 2008. So those
And we were doing loans in
those
2008.
programs, they're gone. So we're everything now is documented pretty much. So.
Yeah, I heard somebody talking about a bank statement program that they had now for self-employed people, and that blew me away because, like, that was just taboo for the longest
And we
time.
are doing that as well, but it's still, it's not like the loans we did
Oh,
back
I
in the
know.
day. You know, back in the day, that everything was stated. So
We had
you know.
stated income, stated asset loans, where you just basically said, "Oh yeah, I make $10,000 a month, and I've got $500,000 in the bank." Nobody had to prove any of that, so you wonder why they went in default. Then you had the NINAs, the no income, no asset. You just turned in a blank loan application, and your credit score alone got you the mortgage.
You had Nina's and Nina Knees, which was no employment on that as well. So yeah. And a lot of
We
people,
had all kinds of great loan programs.
a lot of
back
people
in the
came
day.
to us that were, you could see they were coached.
Oh yeah.
All their answers, they knew right away. You know, where do you work? Here. How much do you make? Here. And it always worked out. You know, they qualified. You know, so.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Those nice 80-20 deals that we used to do.
Yeah.
But that's why, you know, you hear people say that home prices are going to fall. We're getting ready to have a crash like we had in 2008. And it's a whole different scenario than what happened in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, bad mortgage practices are kind of what led to the blow up, because we gave mortgages to people who had never paid anybody on time. And you can't turn a lifetime renter into a homeowner when they, you know, if they're just not financially responsible, because the first time the HVAC goes out, or the first time the water heater bursts, or the roof needs to be replaced, they just didn't have the money to keep that home maintained, and then they lost it. So it's a whole different set of events that have led us to where we are right now. So we are hoping that maybe, you know, first to second Q of 2024 mortgage rates do start to come down. But when the interest rates come down, home prices are going to go up, because you're going to have a bigger demand. And I don't know that the supply is going to increase that much to
I
make
had
up for
2
that.
pre-qualified buyers this week that just said, hey, you know, with prices and rates, we're just going to wait. So we're hearing it all the time. So there will be that influx of new buyers, or, you know, when those rates do come down.
If and when.
If and when.
Yeah. That's what we have to say now. If and when. If and when.
Yes.
But, I mean, you were talking about home prices are not appreciating as fast. We're in Q4, and Q4 is always, I guess, the slowest of the quarters. So while home prices may still appreciate, they're not appreciating as fast
Correct.
as they would have during the spring and the summer markets, which are your prime, you know, buying times, so to speak, because everybody starts gearing up for the holidays, and then everybody's broke because they spend it all on Christmas. And
Like I said, they are still appreciating, and if you go ahead and buy now, not only is that home just going to appreciate on its own, but as you're making those monthly payments, you're building that equity as well. So you're getting still two good things if you purchase now versus waiting. So.
Correct. All right. So that covers it for this week. If you have a local business and you would like us to highlight you on our Morristown Market Report, feel free to leave a comment or send us a DM. We are now scheduling for 2024, and we would love to have you on there. Again, I'm Aimee Schrader with Remax Real Estate 10.
And I'm Kim Swan with Union Home Mortgage.